everybody? Welcome back to Saturdays in the SEC, episode 91. Here after a loaded week 3. I mean, we got a ton to talk about this week. I mean, looking ahead, we got a loaded week 4 on deck. So we're really getting into the heart of the schedule now. But really some intriguing, results from week 3. We're going to kind of lead off with Alabama. I mean, that's one of the biggest stories, just how bad they've struggled so far. The quarterback carousel that's been going on, the offensive line play has been personally about as bad as I can remember. And it's just kind of surprising when you heard so many good things throughout the offseason and fall camp about this offensive line, and it just has not come to fruition whatsoever so far. But kind of talking about the quarterbacks a little bit, if you've been following along or really watching Alabama, Jalen Milroe obviously started the first 2 games. And then with his couple interceptions in the Texas game, they decided to start Tyler Buchner in week 3 against USF. Did not go well at all for him. I mean, the offensive line didn't help him any, but he was inaccurate. Just had no continuity on offense whatsoever. So he got a bulk of the first half, and then first half and a little bit of the second half, and then Ty Simpson came in. Had a nice throw or 2 here and there. They were able to run the ball a little bit with him in the game. I think it was just that point in the game they were able to wear USF down a little bit. I think USF got a little tired in the fourth quarter, so they were able to run the ball a little bit, more effectively. But between the inexperience, no continuity with the quarterbacks, and the offensive line giving up multiple sacks, a lot of it was on the O-line, but I don't think the quarterbacks felt pressure very well. I mean, there was times where, they might have had a second to step up or kind of, step up in the pocket or kind of run ahead for a gain and just weren't able to kind of feel that presence. And I think that was just a lack of inexperience, really, especially for Ty Simpson, because he hasn't gotten many meaningful snaps. So, kind of looking ahead, though, today, I thought was one of the most revealing press conferences from Nick Saban, probably in his entire time at Alabama. He said that, seeing Jalen Milroe's leadership and obviously evaluating all the quarterbacks now that they've had some time to play, that Jalen Milroe is going to be the starter moving forward. I definitely think that's the right decision. It's pretty obvious to everybody who's watched that he definitely gives Alabama the best chance to be successful on offense. I mean, the offensive line has really struggled, so he at least gives a little ability to make plays with his legs. He's obviously definitely the most experienced of the 3, and especially, within this offense and being at Alabama multiple years. So I definitely think that's the right call moving forward. I'm glad that they have settled on somebody and can kind of hopefully establish a little bit of identity. I just really want to see the offensive game plan, fit his strengths more. I thought in the Texas game, I didn't really like the game plan because there was a lot of, 5-step drops. It wasn't a game plan that really fit his skill set. And I'm hoping now that they've established, okay, this is our guy, I want to see that offense more tailored to his skill set, roll him out of the pocket. Haven't seen many play action passes at all. Saw a couple quarterback runs with Buchner. I want to see more of that with Milroe. I mean, that's a big part of his game. So I want to see that moving forward. But I think for him to have any sort of success, this offensive line's got to be much, much better. It's going to be hard for him or any of the quarterbacks to operate if they're not, blocking up front better. And then thought it was a good sign, though, the running game got going in the second half. Hopefully they can establish that a little bit more as well. But there's some very real problems here. And that's the first time I've really, there's been moments where you go, okay, maybe the dynasty's kind of fading a little bit. There were stretches where there were some questions, but those were questions. I feel like these are legitimate problems, and Alabama really hasn't had that in the last decade plus. where you're like, okay, there are some legitimate issues at hand here. I haven't felt that, in a long time. So, kind of looking forward, I feel like this game against Ole Miss is such a turning point on the season. I feel like if they can put their best foot forward here and have a nice performance, I feel like okay, like now we feel settled a little bit. We got our quarterback. We have a good performance here, and I feel like okay, maybe we can start ascending a little bit. I feel like if they have another bad performance and say they lose this game on Saturday to Ole Miss, I think the season could go in the tank, honestly. I think this is a big, like, turning point, like, breaking point, if you will, to, like, okay, is this team really going to ascend or are they going to fall off the cliff? I know that kind of sounds doom and gloom for week 4, but that's really honestly how I feel. Um, but I want to see how they respond. I did not think it was their best effort Saturday. I mean, clearly the way they played, but, there's been some rumors of, a lot of the locker room not agreeing with the quarterback decision. It was certainly, kind of shown in their play. There were certainly some individuals that showed up and had great games. I want to shout out Roydell Williams for really carrying the offense in the second half. I was glad. He really got. I felt like that was the first time too. He really got a long run at it, and he was kind of the guy in the second half. That was cool to see for him, and I thought he was one of those guys that kind of set the tone, and like there was no dip in his play whatsoever. And he's their best kind of pass protector at running back, so I think that's a reason. McClellan missed on a few that kind of a couple edge blitzers that he didn't pick up or maybe didn't have the right effort in picking up, whether it is technique. So it was good to see Roydell get a run at it second half. I think his role is only going to continue to grow. But what are your thoughts on this? Kind of what have you seen? I'm sure it's a lot of the same, but and kind of what do you expect going forward? Because as I've kind of laid out, I really don't know what to expect.
Yeah, 100%. When going into the season, we were hearing all this talk about the O line, how it's going to be the best O line they've had in a long time, and they really haven't showed that from all the talk. And with the offense they have right now, they're wanting to establish the run game, and that comes down to the offensive line. And they haven't really put their best foot forward in establishing the run game. They've kind of been slow with it. Like you said, this week was their better week or best week so far in establishing the run game, but they still weren't really just clicking on all cylinders. They did have their best O lineman out, I do believe, and had a defensive lineman out as well on the opposite side of the opposite side of the football. So, I mean, that obviously plays a role when you're trying to get guys healthy, especially for the heart of the schedule that's coming up in the SEC play. But I think you're 100% right. This week is a big turning point or breaking point, as you said, in the season. This can get them back on the right foot, on the right scale, on the right path, and get them in the right headspace going into this game and how it pans out. But I think that I believe they need to start incorporating more design quarterback runs. I feel like we haven't seen a lot of that with Jalen Milroe, and like you said, a little bit of play action, but for play actions to work and be successful, you got to be able to establish the run and run the football successfully. And Alabama just hasn't been able to do that to the extent they would like to, especially to establish those play action passes. So I think it comes down to the offensive line. They've got to get better, and they've got to play to the expectation that everybody's talking about and thinking that they can do. And it's there. The ability is there. It's just they're not playing cohesively, to me, is what it looks like, and they're kind of getting pushed back at times. They're not really creating a whole lot of gaps, so it's going to be it's a lot easier said than done 100%, but I think that is the end all be all for this team, is that they've got to run the football, and if they can't run the football successfully, that it's going to be a mediocre Alabama team for sure.
Yeah, I think too. And to me, it's not even really the ability of the offensive line. I just don't see a group that's confident right now, that's missing assignments. That's just, and obviously Caden Proctor's really struggled so far. He's a freshman left tackle. And I think in the offseason, I think the offensive line got a little bit heavier than they wanted to because they look a little slow. I mean, Caden
Yeah,
Proctor,
they're
I
not
know he's
very
young
quick.
and he's, I'm sure he's in his head, trying to, when you're thinking about your assignments and what you're what you're trying to do, you're not really playing fast. A lot of times, you're not playing confident, and I think he's in his own head a lot right now, just because he's trying to learn on the fly. He's a true freshman in SEC football, and it's just I think there's a lot going on there. They're trying to help him out. Tyler Booker, as you mentioned, was out this game, probably the best offensive lineman they have at left guard. The reason they moved him from right guard to left guard was to help Proctor out. So Booker kind of goes through the calls, kind of lets him know what to do, what his assignment is, kind of assists him in that, since he's such a young player. So, getting him back, if he's able to come back this week, I do think will help some. But I think a lot of it's just a confidence thing and not really being on the same page as far as their assignments go. And, kind of to aid the offensive line a little bit, Alabama has to establish enough of a passing threat that you're backing guys out of the box. And I think that's hurt the offensive line too, because there has been not much of a threat at all through 3 games of the intermediate to downfield passing game. Obviously, Milroe was able to hit a couple shots in the Texas game, but it wasn't enough for them to really strike fear into them. They're like, okay, if you hit a deep shot on us, we'll tip our hat to you, but we're going to keep playing you the same way. Like, hit it on us 4 or 5 times, so.
Right.
I think they, have to develop, especially they really struggled in the intermediate passing game. So if they can establish that a little bit just to, keep that in the defense's head and establish that where they're not stacking the box so much. So, in college football, you got to be balanced nowadays. You can't be a one-dimensional team. So, hopefully the offensive line will be able to develop a little bit. Like I said, it's going to be a big game Saturday, a big turning point on the season. I'm expecting. I don't really have any reason to feel this way. I just have a gut feeling they're going to come out with a much better effort and better execution than we've seen so far. Because, like I said, this is just so critical for the trajectory of the season. I mean, it's the SEC opener. It's against a really, really good Ole Miss team that's playing well right now. Against a good quarterback in Jackson Dart. So, I don't know. I get that might be just my heart talking to me, but I just have to think they're going to come out with the best effort that they can, and hopefully that'll be enough. I think it's going to be a lower scoring kind of game. I am very happy with the way the defense has played so far. Deontay Lawson's kind of been all over the field. Thought Dallas Turner had probably one of his best games in a while on Saturday as well. So defensively, I feel pretty good overall. I think they're going to get better and better, but hopefully with getting some continuity at quarterback now and the offensive line, maybe you'll be able to pick up the pace as well. But it's going to be a super interesting game on Saturday.
Absolutely. I'm excited, and I'm not sure what I think about it right now. I don't know who I'm leaning towards. I'm probably going to stay away from that game when it comes to betting. I think Ole Miss does have a good chance. I mean, Lane Kiffin knows Saban really well. He's had multiple coaching battles with him where he's played him really tough. So I think this is a great test for Alabama to see where they're at at this part of the season and where they're going to be going forward. But you're 100% right. They have no choice but to come out with the best effort and the best execution, or it's going to get ugly. Because you can bet your hat that Ole Miss is going to come out there ready to roll, and they're going to be locked in because they've been playing really good football lately, and that they've been locked in. They especially they end the game so well, man. Their third and fourth quarter performances have been so good. They get better and better, and they don't quit. They fight to the last whistle. So this is a good test for Alabama for sure. I bet they wish they had somebody else opening SEC play with, especially how they're playing right now. But it's going to be a 4-quarter battle for sure.
Yeah, I mean, because if you're Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, like, why would you not come in feeling confident? I mean, they're feeling as confident as they've ever been going into this game against Alabama. Feeling like they're catching them at the right time. Alabama's a lot of questions, a lot of problems going on right now. So they have every reason to feel confident, and that's why I'm expecting a more locked in Alabama, or hopefully a better executing Alabama team, because that they're going to need it, because it's going to be a 4-quarter game, and this is a a well coached, confident playing football team coming in. I'm curious to see though. Quinshon Judkins has been banged up really to open
Yeah.
this season in the first 3 games. I think he's had 44 carries, I believe, so far. I want to see kind of where his health is at because obviously that's such a critical piece to their offense and their team. So I kind of want to see like what percentage of health is he at? Like, is he, kind of close to 100%, or is he only at 70 or 80%? I'm really curious to see like how involved he's able to be. I mean, I know he's going to play, but like, are we going to get the real Quinshon Judkins, or are we just going to get kind of the banged up version that we've got so far? I know he's going to give all that he can, but I'm sure he's wishing and they're wishing he could be 100% going into this. So I kind of want to see like where his health is at as well.